Hi, my name is Brian Scruggs, and this is my Module 16 for EDL 850, Internet Use Violations. Our scenario involves Robin Tate, a teacher of advanced science classes at Slattery-Sino High School in an affluent area. Miss Tate is threatened by an email one day, and it is up to the principal, Harvey Smith, to get to the bottom of the harassment that happens and return the school to the welcome and safe school that it has always been. So in identifying a problem, first we need to look at what we know. Slattery-Sino High School is indeed in an affluent area, serving students from pretty predominant families in the area. Many of the parents are doctors, lawyers, judges within the area. Dr. Harvey Smith has been the principal of Slattery-Sino for 9 years. He's an incredible principal. He's been recognized by the state, and he has a lot of, he's very highly regarded within the academic community, but also in the actual community of his stakeholders as well. They look up to him a lot. Miss Robin Tate has been recently hired by Dr. Smith for teaching advanced science classes at the high school. Her classes are pretty tough. They're really rigorous, and many of the parents and students are claiming that her classes are causing way too much stress on their students, and they've given some complaints to Dr. Smith. Miss Tate, one day on a long weekend, was sent an anonymous email with suggestive and lewd comments and an apparent threat saying that who wants Miss Tate to disappear. She was very upset about this and let Dr. Smith know right away. We also know that Miss Tate believes that one of her students, William Hall, was the one to create the Facebook page that included the threat and the comments, and this is because he is a constant disruptor in her class, and she has seen him working on many of his friends' computers during class time. Dr. Smith, we do know, is also going to discuss this matter when they return back to school the next day with Miss Tate and William and some of his other friends from class. What we need to know, why did Dr. Smith not follow up with Miss Tate? When she was getting complaints from the students and the parents, Dr. Smith gave some suggestions of strategies to Miss Tate, but there's nowhere that says that he followed up to make sure that those strategies were working, or to give her more, to get any feedback from Miss Tate. And so, you can't just give the strategies. You have to make sure that they're being followed up with. Also, as a new teacher, why is Miss Tate why doesn't she have a new teacher mentor? That's required in the state of Kansas. And so, to me, this should be a pretty big deal. Also, why do Miss Tate's students want her to disappear? We don't know that it's her students that sent this email out with the link to the Facebook page. But even still, why do her families and the students not have a good relationship with her? What's causing that lack of relationship? If there was a relationship there, this probably wouldn't be happening, regardless of how hard or rigorous her classes were. Also, we need to know, does Slattery-Sino receive E-rate discounts? Because if they do, they could be under some violations because, again, we also need to know, is the Facebook page or the email where they sent or created with school district computers? If they are, they could be in violation of E-rate and the Children's Internet Protection Act. And then also we need to know, does the school have an acceptable use policy, anti-bullying and harassment policies in place, and do they provide education in these matters? Again, if they don't, they could be in trouble with CIPA, and then there could be some consequences of their E-rate discounts if they qualify for those. So the problem here is that a new and relatively untrained teacher is in charge of several advanced science classes at Slattery-Sino High School, and she's been anonymously threatened via a Facebook page. Students and parents argue that her classes are way too tough and too stressful, and they are not supportive of Miss Tate. They don't have a relationship with her, and really neither does her school community. Looking at our plan of action, this is what I would do if I was Dr. Smith. The first thing I'm going to do is meet with Miss Tate. I let her vent over the phone. She was very anxious, scared, nervous, as she should have been. But then taking the time to sit in my office with her and just really talk about the situation in a calm, cool, collected manner. and kind of get things under control that way. Also, what I would do is meet with all of Miss Tate's classes. Going in there and kind of explaining what happened, not giving any specific details, but just letting them know that if there is a problem with Miss Tate, it needs to be addressed with her and the principal, and that bullying or harassment of any kind is not going to be tolerated. And then also, he does need to get the technology department involved. They need to figure out where that email came from, because like I said, if it came from a school computer or district computer, the school and district could be in trouble with CIPA and lose their E-rate funds if they qualify. Also, we need to readdress the acceptable use policy, make sure that they have one. If they don't, we probably need to at least talk about bringing that out a little bit more in some of our lessons within some of the classes at the school. Maybe making it mandatory for homeroom classes to teach a small bit of internet or online safety or acceptable use. Sending a blanket letter to families about the acceptable use policy and the principal and teachers' expectations for how computers should be used at school in regards to harassment and bullying. And again, not saying any names or details of what's gone on recently, but just to let parents know that it's that you're taking it seriously and that you are requesting their help at home. It helps build a relationship between families and school. Finding a staff mentor to mentor Miss Tate. She needs some help. She needs someone to help her, give her strategies, and then follow up on those. And then provide regular check-ins with Miss Tate, you as the principal. She needs to know that you're looking out for her. So going and meeting with her from time to time and just checking up to make sure things are going well. And then remaining vigilant, making sure that there are no other instances of harassment or bullying via the internet. And if there are, getting on those really quickly. Some strategies that I would engage in would be educating Miss Tate and her students on the legal consequences of slander and libel. The students who, if they were students or whoever created the Facebook page, could be guilty of libel because they have written some defamatory statements that could be used to, make her look bad. And then, Miss Tate, she could be guilty of slander if she just goes off accusing students without any evidence of wrongdoing. And so it's important that principal educates. Also educating students on acceptable use, online bullying, harassment, online safety, giving Miss Tate strategies and tools for building relationships between her students and families, which she desperately needs, providing Miss Tate with a support system of other teachers, engaging her in team activities and team planning so that she's not in this all by herself, so that she can see how other teachers who have done this for a while do things and get some ideas there. And then if a party is found guilty, it's going to be necessary to follow any school and district policies, also any laws that are in place to make sure that any consequences are served appropriately. Category 3, resolving the issues, promoting the success of all students. So Miss Tate lacks positive relationships with students and families. Giving her that mentor support, that's going to help resolve that issue. And then also checking in with Miss Tate as often as possible. The issue of online bullying and harassment is developing the program to educate students. And if it already exists, it needs to be maintained or maybe readdressed. So that it's fresh in the minds of all students. Also, the staff of Slattery Steno, they lack a leadership capacity. The parents and students are doing all the complaining to Dr. Smith. He needs to provide some capacity to either team or department heads or even teachers themselves to solve some of these problems on their own, the minor ones, before they become big problems such as this, and allow them ownership of their classrooms and the relationships they have with their teachers, with their parents and students. Debriefing the problem and reflecting on what I'm thinking, feeling, and valuing. Thinking is, I kept thinking, why isn't Miss Tate being supported as a new teacher? As a new teacher, we find these great teachers. We have to support them so that they can, become the great teachers that we think that they are qualified to be. And then also, I kept thinking, how do you, in an event like this, how do you support your staff while also your students, like without favoring one over the other? How do you keep a balance there? I was feeling nervous because this is something that could happen and likely would happen at any school under my administration. Also, there was a feeling of helplessness because there's not a really clear definitive answer as to what you're supposed to do. There's no one really to blame in this case. And without that, you kind of have to look elsewhere. So how are we going to solve this problem if there is no one to blame? And then I really value the way that Dr. Smith cares for his staff and his students. He gives them ideas when they are struggling, and then he's listening to all the concerns of his students. He really does want to do what's right, and he stays involved with his school. Some unresolved issues are: why do the parents at Slattery Steno only go to Dr. Smith with the problems? Why aren't they going to the teachers first? To me, that just shows that there's not a relationship between parents and teachers. There's only a relationship between parents and principal. Also, why isn't there a mentor program for new teachers? And then why is Dr. Smith so quick to defend the students and parents, but not necessarily his staff? In the beginning, he listened to the complaints and then he gave some suggestions, but he didn't really defend Miss Tate's teaching style or strategies that she had in place. But very quick to defend his students when by saying that this incident could have just been, probably just was a prank. Category 5, reflecting on standard 5. Dr. Smith is a good principal. He has established positive relationships with the students and families he serves. He prides himself on selecting only the most qualified teachers. He provides strategies for struggling teachers, and he listens to his stakeholders. Looking at integrity, Dr. Smith listens to the concerns of his students and families and then works with his staff to act on those concerns. He protects his students by not allowing Miss Tate to speak with them alone. What I mean by that is, the next day when they all return back to school, he's going to speak with Miss Tate and William together so that he can hear both sides of the story. He's not going to let Miss Tate just go in and start accusing him of making those lewd remarks on the computer. Dr. Smith also takes the concerns of Miss Tate very seriously and is concerned with determining the truth. He's not dismissing anything that she's saying. He's just trying to get to the truth of the matter. Looking at fairness, he tells Miss Tate that they're going to talk to William and his peers together so that he can act as a mediator. Since both parties will be involved, he can hear both sides of the story. He allows parents and students to voice their concerns about Miss Tate's rigorous coursework. He doesn't just dismiss their concerns. And then also, he listens to Miss Tate's version of the story without judgment and then agrees to listen to William's side of the story as well. So again, he's hearing both sides. And then looking at ethics, Dr. Smith provides Miss Tate with suggestions to improve her class, as he should. He acknowledges the concerns of parents and students. He doesn't just sweep things under the rug. He remains calm during his discussion with Miss Tate, even though she was pretty anxious. And he listens to understand the whole story before he starts talking. And then Dr. Smith, he does get the technology department involved because it is important that we find out where this email and Facebook page came from.